Some Vietnamese found it easier to leave the country. President Thieu resigned on April 21st and 4 days later flew to safety in Taiwan. By this time, enemy troops were only 35 miles from Saigon. The United States mission in Vietnam had prepared emergency plans to evacuate American citizens. Ambassador Graham Martin had delayed implementing those plans, hoping the situation could still be improved. But by April 29th, North Vietnamese rockets were falling on Saigon's airport and time was running out. The order was given to begin the largest helicopter evacuation in history. More than 1,000 Americans and almost 6,000 Vietnamese were flown to U.S. Navy ships offshore. Countless thousands of Vietnamese who wanted to leave the country were left behind. Some found other ways out. Most did not. We have two reports from Peter Collins and Ed Bradley.
The sky over Saigon was filled with dozens of assorted aircraft, helicopters, transports, even fighter bombers in a nameless whirling merry-go-round over the city. U.S. Embassy helicopters flew from roof to roof, plucking up stranded Americans and occasionally depositing them on the landing pad atop the embassy. But from the roof of the Caravel Hotel in downtown Saigon, it looked as though every pilot in the South Vietnamese Air Force who could get his hands on an aircraft had decided that now was the time to get away. It was mid-morning when the word came. A full-scale emergency evacuation had been ordered. All Americans were to report immediately to assembly points designated weeks in advance. When buses arrived at the assembly points, they were soon jammed with anxious Americans and some Vietnamese who slipped aboard. Then came a hair-raising ride to the airport. American Marines brought in to guard the helicopter landing zone stayed close to bunkers as the steady thump of rockets and the clatter of small arms kept up throughout the day. The landing zone was the parking lot of what used to be the American military headquarters in Vietnam, once known as Pentagon East. But now the huge building was a last-ditch holding area, while overhead big Air Force and Marine helicopters arrived to land at intervals of about 5 minutes. Inside the building, the evacuees were broken into groups of 50, and then it was a mad dash out the door into the parking lot for the waiting helicopter. Although it seemed much longer, it took only 2 or 3 minutes to load the helicopters, and then it was farewell to Vietnam. To avoid the threat of surface-to-air missiles, the big chopper skimmed low over Saigon, with the door gunner at the ready and the engines deliberately set to produce a stream of white smoke so that anti-aircraft crews would have a hard time spotting it. It was a 45-minute ride from the encircled and threatened city of Saigon to the safety of American aircraft carriers waiting offshore. On the midway, the refugees are led quickly away from the howling blast of the helicopters by Navy crewmen. For them, it is only the first leg in a journey away from Vietnam and the war, but perhaps an uncertain future in America. Peter Collins, CBS News, with the final American withdrawal from Vietnam.